Good afternoon and welcome to Chargers Outside Zone. I'm Chuck.
I'm Thomas.
And today we're going to do our early look at the 2023 Denver Broncos.
Yes, we are. And before we start talking about the Denver Broncos, congratulations to the Denver Nuggets.
Yes, the Denver Nuggets took home the NBA championship.
The Larry O'Brien trophy.
And with the Colorado Avalanche winning a Stanley Cup a year ago, that only leaves what?
The baseball team.
The Colorado Rockies.
And the Denver Broncos.
As teams not to win championships recently.
Isn't it sad?
So this is the second end of the series. We took a look at the Raiders. Now we're taking a look at the Broncos. In upcoming episode, we'll take a look at the Chiefs and then again at the Chargers. But this is our early look at the AFC West teams.
Yes.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. Reminder, this is a father-son hobby where we focus on the team building in the Los Angeles Chargers. You know, in the offseason, we take a look at the teams in our division. And then just a note here, we are not experts. We don't talk about gambling and betting. And we try to stay away from hot takes.
Unless there's stories that aren't technically, this is how to bet.
Yeah,
But we...
If there's a story about a player, you know, losing $8 million.
We will talk about it.
Yeah. Wouldn't be me, but
Yeah.
I don't have $8 million to lose. Anyways,
Yeah.
let's get into the Denver Broncos. Another new regime here in Denver.
That's 2 in 2 years.
Sean Payton traded from the New Orleans Saints to the Denver Broncos for that late first-round pick that moved around a lot. He's got 25 years of experience. Took last year off. Was a Fox guy for talking about football.
Yes.
And
How comfortable was that job, you think?
Oh, I'm sure it's quite cozy, like Bill Cowher says, and others before him. You never lose when you're working the desk there. But he brings in former Charger offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi. These two were together in New Orleans for quite some time.
Oh, what a nice story.
Yes.
Just real nice story.
And then defensive coordinator Vance Joseph is back in Denver. So he was hired as the head coach 2017, 2018, I think we looked at.
Yes.
Was there for 2 years, 11-21 record. Let go by the Denver Broncos when they brought in Vic Fangio. He went off to Arizona to be the defensive coordinator there. And Sean Payton brings him back to Denver. And I'm guessing with a change in ownership, it's easier for Vance Joseph to come back. You know, the owners who had him as a head coach, the team was sold. It's new owners, so it probably made it a little bit easier for him to walk back through the doors. Interesting enough, the Denver Broncos decided to hold on to general manager George Paton, and so he will be your general manager along with head coach Sean Payton moving this franchise forward.
But I think Sean Payton has more of a say.
Than a Nathaniel Hackett did.
Yeah.
Potentially, yeah. I don't disagree with that comment. Yeah, I can imagine Sean having a loud voice in the room.
Because you don't hire Sean Payton unless you're willing to give the reins
Correct.
to...
And give up a number one pick, even though it's a
Sean
late
Payton.
one, right?
Yes.
So, all right. That is the new regime in Denver in 2023. I think you kind of see Sean landing in Denver. There's a few releases. They waive some guys early, like releasing Chase Edmonds, Graham Glasgow, Ronald Darby. Then they get into free agency.
Yes. And then bring some Saints on.
Yeah, and in the first wave of free agency, Three big signings here. Defensive end Zach Allen, tackle Mike McGlinchey with a big contract, and then former Raider backup quarterback Jarrett Stidham.
Yes.
So apparently Sean Payton sees something in Jarrett Stidham that he decided to go ahead and sign him on the first day of free agency.
And the Raiders saw something
Yeah.
as well. Because why would you sit your quarterback for 10 years and play a backup?
Yeah, in the game, I can't speak really to why Josh McDaniels did what Josh McDaniels did.
He probably saw something in him.
Maybe, but yeah, you got to see Jarrett Stidham on full display in that game, and maybe that helped Sean Payton make his decision.
Yes.
Understood. They went ahead and re-signed a couple folks, P.J. Locke and Alex Singleton. A couple other big signings from outside the organization, bringing in running back Samaje Perine from the Bengals and guard Ben Powers from the Ravens.
Yes.
So we'll talk more about the running backs here in a little bit later in the episode. A couple other signings, Marquez Callaway, as you were talking about, a former Saint. And then they went ahead and acquired tight end Adam Troutman in around the draft for late round picks.
Late round pick swap.
Yeah. But a couple Saints coming in. Maybe he's bringing them in to set the tone during training camp and help people in those rooms.
I don't think he's going to release Saints, though.
He may or may not. We'll see how it goes. But bringing in some folks that he knows. And then you get to the draft and
has a very tiny,
for many different reasons, a small class here.
The Russ trade, the draft pick that
you got from the Dolphins
that switched hands multiple times.
So with their first pick at pick number 63 in the second round, they take wide receiver Marvin Mims Jr. out of Oklahoma. Now, I don't know exactly how their draft board played out, but with a wide receiver room of Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy, was wide receiver their number one need? Maybe, maybe not.
No.
But I guess this...
there is talk about wide receiver getting traded.
Jerry Jeudy, a lot of offseason talk about maybe Jeudy landing on a different team.
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe that's the plan. Maybe they like what they saw in Marvin Mims Jr. and they have plans for him in the future as they, turn over this roster a little bit.
Yes.
Pick 67, 4 picks later, they take linebacker Drew Sanders out of Arkansas. I started to, in some mock drafts, you saw him early second round. I think people like the speed. I think they like the production at Arkansas in his 1 year at Arkansas.
Yeah. So the second round talent
here at pick 67.
Here in 67, it's good value.
Yeah, the interesting part, you did re-sign Alex Singleton. You have Josie Jewell back. Does Drew Sanders then be able to break that starting lineup and get on the field? Maybe not year one, maybe
sit
once again
on
a
the
year two
bench.
thing. And learn from those guys?
Yes.
At pick 83 in round 3, they take cornerback Riley Moss out of Iowa. Obviously, the Denver Broncos have a pretty strong cornerback room. Potentially adding depth here at the bottom of that cornerback room.
I could only see that being the situation.
Yep. 100 picks later in round 6, pick 183, safety J.L. Skinner out of Boise State. And then at round 7, pick 257, center Alex Forsythe out of Oregon. So that is their 5-pick draft class.
Yes.
Plenty of time to order in sandwiches in between picks there, it seems.
Yes.
At the end of day 2, and so
Just so we realize, the
our tagline up here says added talent in a year impacted by acquiring Russell Wilson. I don't know how much talent, but it's still a year, even though we didn't change it from last year. Obviously, this draft class was impacted by Russell Wilson, right?
yes,
So,
and I think that is the only draft pick. The only two classes that will be impacted.
yeah, it should be kind of a return to normal for them next year.
Yes,
Yeah. All right.
I would.
After the draft, they went ahead. They got allocated the defensive tackle here, who's part of the international program. I'm going to refrain from saying his name because I would not be able to pronounce it.
It's
But
hard.
yeah, then released a couple guys. Then they went ahead and signed 15 undrafted free agents.
Yes, and then released 4.
And then 4 of them are already gone from the team.
And then
Names that I recognize here is probably P.J. Mustafer, defensive tackle.
out of what?
He was, I think, out of Penn State. Some people had him liked what he put on tape, but I think as a nose tackle, how often is he going to be on the field
Yes.
and stuff like that nature. Then after the XFL season ended, they signed running back Jacques Patrick, but they've already released him. And the other signing from the XFL is quarterback Ben DiNucci.
Doesn't have to change jersey colors.
Well, he played for the Seattle Sea Dragons.
Yes.
So
And
now
their
the Denver Broncos have not one but 2 former Seattle quarterbacks.
for 2 different teams.
Yeah, this one didn't cost as much
Yeah.
as the other one.
Didn't have to trade the farm.
Yeah, so they got the Nooch, and we'll see what
Former
he does.
Cowboy is great.
Yeah. I don't follow the Denver Broncos every day, but
I don't as well.
they went ahead and released longtime kicker Brandon McManus. I'm
Sure.
guessing this was a salary cap, save a few dollars here or there. I haven't looked at his stats to see if he fell off a cliff as a kicker, but he was quickly picked up by the Jaguars. So
He must have not.
yeah, so we'll see. They brought back Cam Fleming, signed their new kicker Elliott Fry, and a tight end Tommy Hudson. And then a couple other moves here of significance would be outside linebacker Frank Clark, and
Former Kansas City Chief.
former Kansas City Chief, former Seattle Seahawk, bringing pressure off the edge. As you'll see in a second, did they need Frank Clark? Maybe, maybe not. But you'll get a chance to see what that edge room looks like here in a bit.
I think they all also wanted to bring someone with championship experience.
Potentially, yeah. Doesn't hurt to have Frank Clark come into your team and tell you how to get it done to win a championship.
Yes.
All right, so let's get into the current 90, 91-man roster, depending upon how the international person is counted here.
It doesn't count.
It doesn't account against your 90-man roster, so
90.
they're likely at 91. I didn't really count one by one to see if they have 91 at the moment.
I don't really care.
At quarterback, you have Russell Wilson, free agent signing Jarrett Stidham, former XFLer Ben DiNucci, and Jarrett Garantano. Obviously, this is, they pay Russell Wilson a lot of money. This is his job to lose.
It's the Russell Wilson show.
Yeah. He no longer has his office there at Bronco Park or whatever they call it. But
What about bunch parking spots?
yeah, so really his job to lose. Let's see if we'll talk about him a little bit later. At running back,
What do you think his office got converted into?
storage closet. Back to a storage closet.
Yeah.
Sean Payton probably just left it empty. Just took his name off the front and then just left it empty. Gave it to the
Maybe a man cave.
what's Will from the from Ted Lasso. Maybe he just gave it to the kit manager.
Yeah.
That'd be a good use of it. All right.
Because he was not a wonderkin last year.
No, definitely not. At running back, Javonte Williams, Samaje Perine, Tyler Batty, Tony Jones Jr., and Jaleel McLaughlin. You have the free agent signing of Samaje Perine, but you don't have Melvin Gordon III or
Yes.
Latavius Murray.
Yes.
Two names gone from that room. At fullback, Michael Burton. Now, I'm not going to lie, I don't know too much about Michael, but he is the fullback.
I know
for the Denver
Michael
Broncos.
from The Office,
Yeah.
but I don't know Michael Bird.
At tight end, they have Albert O still, Greg Dulcich, last year's draft pick. Chris Manhertz was a free agent signing. As we mentioned, Adam Troutman was a draft trade acquisition for them. And then Tommy Hudson and Nate Atkins. So
Sure.
I think they have at least four, rosterable tight ends here. Let's see how it all plays out
Yes.
and what they decide to do with them. I do know that if you, in a Sean Payton offense, if I'm not mistaken, there's plenty of targets for a tight end.
Yes.
That can
To be had.
Yeah. At wide receiver, we kind of hinted towards this before. This is a crowded room. There's 12 wide receivers. I know we've seen some teams with more, but I mean, when you have Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy, do you need to draft a Marvin Mims Jr.? You still have KJ Hamler. You bring in Marquez Callaway, formerly of the Saints. Lil Jordan Humphrey, I think he may have spent some time at the Saints as well. Those are two names that are brought into this room. Are you?
I honestly think they saw it as a luxury pick.
Yeah, potentially a luxury. But so you have upwards of 7 names there, but I don't think you're going to carry all 7 on your 53-man roster.
Yes.
Do these guys end up on the practice squad? Does Jerry Jeudy find himself on a new team? Does KJ Hamler find himself left out of this thing? It's going to be interesting to see how their wide receiver room plays out.
I think Jerry Jeudy could fetch a first-round pick. If
it was going to be a first-round pick, somebody would have already made that move. You kind of already have your roster set. I imagine he might be some other team that loses a wide receiver due to injury. We don't want that to happen, but as with training camps and preseason games, if
might be a draft
somebody might come after him as a 1-year rental.
A draft deadline trade as well.
Say again?
Draft deadline.
Oh, trade deadline?
Yeah.
Swap could be. Especially if the Broncos, find themselves without a winning record, you would definitely try to move Jerry Jeudy or someone at the trade deadline for a pick in next year's draft.
Yeah.
At offensive line, at left tackle, you have Garrett Bowles. Left guard, you're penciled in. Your free agent signing Ben Powers. At center, you return Lloyd Cushenberry III. Right guard,
Yes.
Quinn Meinerz returns. And then also your right tackle is a new free agent signing, Mike McGlinchey, who got the bag, paid very well.
Yes.
And you kind of have what appears to be a retooled starting lineup for the Denver Broncos here. One name that's not on here, there was, Dalton Reisner and Russell Wilson seemed to have a little bit of friction there towards the end of the season. He is not on this list.
Yes.
So he is currently an unsigned free agent available.
He might want to take a break.
Could want to take a break. Let's see. They have 4 centers on this roster, including a draft pick this year.
You carry at least like 3.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in training camp, you want to have roughly 15, so you can have 3 lines and rotate people through. But let's just say they don't have a lot of depth past that starting lineup.
Yep.
I think they've definitely made improvements to this starting line,
but not major improvements.
Well, I mean, I do think Ben Powers and Mike McGlinchey make any offensive line better in theory. You just want to see how close those guys are to the end of their careers. We don't expect a tremendous downturn, but, those 2 guys have produced in other locations.
Yes.
But, man, once you get past that starting 5, I'm not sure what they got here. It'd be interesting to see how it plays out. See what their final 53 carries. What do you say we move to the defensive side?
Yes.
All right. Now, as I put this together,
yes,
it was a little confusing on the defensive line because their defensive line room carries nose tackle, defensive linemen, defensive tackles, and defensive ends.
Yes.
And
they might be running a base.
And then they have an incredible laundry list of edge defenders, which I have labeled here defensive end. It kind of seems like, whatever defense Vance Joseph was running,
yes,
then to the Vic Fangio and whoever the defensive coordinator was last year, that this team is really confused about base between a 4-3 and a 3-4 defense.
Yes. They have a crisis.
So, and granted that nobody plays base defense very often outside of first down, but so they have a mix of players. We'll see how it all shuffles out. Obviously, they have plenty of players for nickel and dime packages, and they have plenty of bodies here to rotate through. But when we were trying to put these in buckets here, it was a little confusing.
They might be switching.
Yeah, they'll rotate.
Rotating, like
the Buffalo Bills,
like the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, definitely. In their base defense, they had DJ Jones at nose tackle with defensive ends Zach Allen and Jonathan Harris beside him. If you go to pff.com and look at their lineup, they also have Mike Purcell.
Purcell
is Draymond Jones. He is left and signed with somebody else.
Okay.
Recent draft picks here, Awuzurike and Matt Henningsen are both here. And then you have a couple of nose tackles that would likely be backups for a DJ Jones. So it'll be interesting to see how this group of 11 guys plays out and see what they carry forward into the season. And maybe they move a piece or two from this room. Who knows?
Who knows?
At defensive end, Randy Gregory is back.
Okay.
He signed a large free agent contract last year, got hurt. I didn't really go through all the details of but he didn't have a tremendous number of snaps last year. I think injury-plagued season would be an accurate description.
Yes.
You bring in Frank Clark. Jonathan Cooper was around this team last year. Nick Benito was drafted not too long ago. got snaps. Baron Browning, is he an inside linebacker, outside linebacker? He seemed to get a lot of snaps at outside linebacker last year, so maybe he has a home there. And then, they seem to bring in Aaron Patrick and Christopher Allen were around, but then they also brought in Marcus Haynes and Thomas Incoom. If you're a team out there
Yeah.
that suffers an injury at edge, this might be a team to go to because you might be able to pick up a Baron Browning or a Nick Benito from them as they're going through this transition. It doesn't look like their past drafts are playing forward into what they want to do in the future.
Yeah.
Moving on to the linebacker room, you still have Josie Jewell here. They re-signed Alex Singleton. Jonas Griffith has given them plenty of snaps over the last few years. Rookie Drew Sanders. I think you probably carry those 4 on your 53.
Yes.
And that should take care of your inside linebacker room.
Depending on if your rookie is really bad, usually you carry all your rookies.
Yeah, you definitely want to, take care of that draft capital that you have invested in them. Now, it doesn't mean that every rookie, every 7th round rookie pick, if he won't make it to your practice squad, but in this case of Drew Sanders, if you tried to get him to the practice squad, somebody's going to claim him.
Yes.
Because it would basically be free of charge. Well, you'd still have his rookie contract, but you would be getting the 67th pick in the draft, and he's going to help out somebody's roster somewhere.
Yes.
So, yeah, definitely think he makes the 53. But, it's not a... Maybe next year if Drew Sanders steps up and hits his ceiling,
Yep.
this is a stellar inside linebacker, but obviously not the Fred Warners and Shaq Leonards of the NFL here.
Yes.
At cornerback, returning one of the best, Patrick Surtain II.
Yes.
He's your number 1 corner. Opposite him is Demary Mathis, drafted a year or so ago from Pitt. Their slot wide receiver, K'Wan Williams, was with them last year. And has played with Surtain and Mathis, so there should be good communication there. Former Charger Asang Bassi is here in Denver, and he returns to this team along with Jaquan McMillan. There's a Tremont Smith, Phelan Hicks, your draft pick Riley Moss, Art Green, Delonte Hood. Obviously, at the top end, you have incredible talent with Patrick Surtain. Would make every defense better. Let's see how the rest of it rounds out. At safety, one of the best in the business, Justin Simmons. Alongside him is Kareem Jackson. They return Caden Stearns. They re-sign P.J. Locke. They draft J.L. Skinner and a couple of other players here, Devon Key and last year's draft pick, Delarian Turner-Yell. And pretty amazing secondary when you look at, a nickel defense of Patrick Surtain, Demary Mathis, K'Wan Williams, Justin Simmons, and Kareem Jackson.
Yes.
All new specialists for this team at punter Riley Dixon. As mentioned before, kicker Elliott Fry wearing number 39. That should be exciting.
Yay.
No? You're not excited by
I'm not excited.
the kicker wearing number 39?
I'm more excited about tight ends wearing number 0 and wide receivers, but I'm more offensive than defensive minded.
Okay. I'm looking forward to the preseason seeing Elliott Fry walk out in that number 39 jersey to kick a field goal.
Sure.
And long snapper Mitchell Fraboni. Let's not forget the long snapper on the team.
He has a job as well.
Yep. All right. That is the defensive side of the ball and the specialist for
Who's the
current
return
91-man roster.
Who's the returner?
Well, it's not called out, but it would be, somebody from the wide receiver room or running back room or, maybe a cornerback. We'll have to go back and take a look at that.
Why isn't it called out?
Well, they're just listed as a wide receiver. We'll find out who
Okay.
their plans are.
Okay.
But point taken, kick returner, punt returner. And I'm sure that's not decided at the moment.
Yeah.
All right.
I
That
would just-
brings us to...
I would just create another name for it
Yeah, but...
if I was running a team.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. If we list it out, we'll likely call it out in when the 53-man roster comes out and after we've seen what
Yeah.
people put on tape during the preseason.
Yes.
All right. That brings us to the big three topics
Yes.
for the Broncos. And there's two obvious big topics around the Broncos. So we struggled with the third one. I
So
listed
we
it
went-
here at number one.
With the running back.
Yeah, I went with the running back room and more specifically Javonte Williams' recovery. So obviously a recent draft pick not too long ago. To start the season last year, he had 41 carries, 204 yards. That's just shy of 5 yards per carry, or right there at 5 yards per carry. Before he got injured in week 4 against the Raiders. So that
Yes.
puts it at early October. Without Javonte Williams, they turned to Melvin Gordon. They weren't happy with his performance. They brought in Latavius Murray.
Yes.
And those two split carries. And, I don't know as though anybody was overly happy.
Yes.
I mean, Latavius Murray is amazing, his career moving from team to team and, always producing. But it seemed like they had some struggles. Obviously, Sean Payton comes in. He retools the offensive line. He brings in Samaje Perine, or Melvin Gordon, and Latavius Murray. And your top running back is recovering from an ACL tear.
I think if we're just talking about who would step up,
Right.
I think P. Ryan would.
Yeah, I think Samaje Perine obviously showed as a Bengal a great, RB2 behind Joe Mixon. And I would anticipate that he would play that same role
Yes.
and that he can carry you for a game or two.
Yeah.
But really need a 1-2 punch, and you need that number one running back. Javonte Williams fits that mold of a number one running back, just with the knee injury last year.
But
it
if
did happen early in the season. He's had plenty of time to rehab. I don't know the current status of that rehab.
But if he gets injured, I don't know who would be in next year's class
Yeah, I think next year's class is too far out. I think,
to replace him.
right. I mean, if you think of a Sean Payton offense,
It's mostly tight ends that will get the.
well, tight ends, but he always liked to have that, or I shouldn't say always, but I think his ideal scenario was that Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram combination.
Yes.
So if he can get a little bit of Alvin Kamara out of Javonte Williams and, Samaje Perine in that Mark Ingram role, I think he would be quite happy.
If it doesn't work out, just trade for Marvin Ingram. Melvin Ingram.
Mark Ingram. Melvin Ingram was the edge rusher,
Okay.
but
Mark.
well, I think Mark Ingram the second is currently an unrestricted free agent, getting up there in age. I think their decision was made with Samaje.
All right.
All right, so running back room and Javonte Williams recovery.
Yeah.
That was the number one big topic. At number 2, will Russ cook or be cooked?
I think depending on things, like if they get if they get into the top 5, I think Russ is cooked.
Oh, if they finish and they're they have a top 5 pick in the draft.
Top 5 or 10.
Yeah. So, what a lot of NFL Twitter and podcasts are talking about is, will Russ return to running the football? So, in Seattle, he
Yes.
was famous for extending plays, getting out of the pocket, running when there was open lanes, and getting first downs and keeping the drives alive.
But also, I think he's getting to that age where it's like,
Well, he obviously made it clear that he did not want to do that anymore last year.
I don't like this. I'm getting hit a lot.
So then he tried to stay in the pocket last year and did not perform well.
We'll see if
because obviously Seattle had the number 5 pick in this draft as a direct result of his performance and the performance of the Denver Broncos.
yes.
And I think one thing you've asked me several times
Yes.
is how long a leash do you think Sean Payton will give Russell Wilson this year?
I don't think it's going to be that long.
Yeah, I think
With the new ownership being rich as all get out, and Sean Payton probably wants Caleb Williams or someone else.
I really don't know who he wants or what he wants to do, but
He wants probably younger.
obviously this organization is not afraid of change. They brought in Nathaniel Hackett in an attempt to get Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
They get their number 2 choice in Russell Wilson. He demands a largely guaranteed contract. They give it to him. He plays terrible. Nathaniel Hackett's gone. They trade for Sean Payton. So this, it's Walton money, so it's not that big a deal cash wise for this organization,
Yes.
if you will. It would have an impact salary cap wise,
Yes.
because if you try to move on from Russ, that would hamper your salary cap tremendously. But yeah, can they? Does Sean Payton? Well, one thing about Sean Payton, if you look at the New Orleans Saints with Drew Brees, a shorter quarterback, Russell Wilson, a shorter quarterback. Drew Brees won from the pocket. Russell Wilson wants to win from the pocket. He revamped the starting offensive line for Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
I'm guessing with players he thinks can play that New Orleans Saints style of pass protection and
A ground
blocking.
and pound.
Yeah, with all the
Offensive
theories
line.
of a Sean Payton offense, and so maybe Russell Wilson can be Drew Brees 2.0. Maybe.
You're asking a lot.
From an accuracy standpoint, definitely. But yeah, let's see if there's a good mixture here between Russ and Sean Payton, and if it's not going well by game 4, game 6, you think we see Jarrett Stidham?
Yeah.
And then where does it go from there? That would be ugly.
Caleb Williams.
Everybody's in on the tank for Caleb Williams. All right.
Or Drake May.
At the number 3 for the big topics, is Sean Payton better off in Denver? So now let's get 2 things out of the way. and not take this into consideration. Contract-wise, I'm sure he's better off. New Orleans is a great place to visit.
Yes.
I'm sure Denver is a much better place to live. I'm guessing due to temperature and different things. Obviously, in New Orleans, you have to worry about hurricanes, and in Denver, you got to worry a little bit about wildfires. But outside the contract, outside and getting paid by the Waltons, and outside of Denver versus New Orleans, is Sean Payton better off with the Denver Broncos than the New Orleans Saints?
I think no.
I don't think he is either.
Because if you stuck around with the let's take New Orleans out of the Saints name. Saints,
If he sticks with the Saints roster,
you possibly get a rookie quarterback. Or try to fix number 4 of the Raiders.
well, I think the New Orleans, he left New Orleans because he didn't want to be part of a rebuild.
Yes.
He had got them into cap hell,
Okay.
if you believe in the salary cap. And when it came time to retool or rebuild, he was like, well, I'm just going to step away. But when you come back into it, I mean, it's not like this roster
Is any better.
is better than a Saints roster. Derek Carr being that quarterback, after Drew Brees, obviously you couldn't have predicted it, more than a year ago when he made the decision to step away, that this year he would have Derek Carr.
Well, I'm taking into consideration who the Saints have now.
Yeah, they have Derek Carr. They have an offensive line. We'll see Alvin Kamara. They have Michael Thomas back, Chris Olave. They have wide receivers. They have a defense. They have a lot of talent on the defense. And they play in a terrible division.
Yes, let's just call a spade a spade.
So if you want a quick trip to the playoffs, New Orleans Saints, if he stays there with the Derek Carr at quarterback,
Yes.
he's got a pretty quick access. And then the NFC is not the AFC. You do have some top talent with the Eagles and the Niners. I guess you could potentially put the Cowboys in that. But, he would have a much easier road in the NFC. In this division,
You got the Chargers, you got the Chiefs, you got Buffalo,
Yeah,
you got the Jaguars, you freaking got the Jets.
it's a much
You've
much more competitive conference.
Some
it's going to
people-
be
some people believe in the Dolphins,
Bengals.
Bengals, yeah.
Some people are even thinking the Patriots will do something. So
Uh,
to catch one of the 7 playoffs in the AFC is going to take significant effort and a lot of wins.
yes.
And you're going to have to be battle ready.
It's going
And-
to be a
And we just reviewed this roster, and although there's not a ton of holes on defense, we don't know what this, defense, how they're going to play. The offense, if Russell Wilson's not the Russell Wilson of old, what's it look like?
Well-
And if you have to go to Jarrett Stidham or some other quarterback, it's not going to be pretty.
yeah.
But if you're in New Orleans, you win your division, and then you have home field advantage
Yep.
in the wild card round or a bye. But no, I probably wouldn't put them in the bye category. But
Wild card.
I think Dennis Allen has the better job than Sean Payton,
Yes.
aside from location and
Yeah.
contract.
I mean,
Now, obviously, New Orleans has some great food,
yes.
without a doubt. But yeah,
Yes.
Sean probably wishes he would have stayed. Well, his new contract is probably a little bit loftier, and it's Walton money.
But
And we know
honestly,
that Sean likes money.
I would have stayed with the Saints.
Yeah. All right. So those are the big three. We went ahead and we went through their offseason. We took a look at their draft class, what they've done post-draft, what their 90-man roster looks like. We talked about the three things. What's the biggest thing that you learned about the Broncos?
Their wide receiver room is stacked. I'm not. There's a lot of holes on offense. If you ask me, do I see them as a playoff team or even better than last year? They'll get better than last year. I just don't see how much.
Yeah. Incremental improvement, maybe,
I
as he turns over the roster in his image and preps
Yes.
for a year or two. Yeah, and they're obviously going to answer the question about Russell Wilson one way or another.
very quickly.
Yeah. All right. What do you say we get out of here?
Yes.
Do us a favor on Twitter. Follow us at LAC Outside Zone. Here on YouTube, please subscribe, like the video, and turn on notifications. Visit our website at chargersoutsidezone.com. Send us an email if you have any questions, chargersoutsidezone@gmail.com. Once again, this is a father-son hobby. We try to do it every Tuesday and Saturday. It is the off season. We'll see how that goes.
Yes.
And with that, have a great week. Take care. Bye.
Bye.